Hello and welcome. My name is Raiden Edseth-Griffin, and recently, as I was leafing through my copy of the Big Book of Restorative Justice, I found something I hadn't seen in my previous readings of it, which is an appendix to the first book in here, which is the Little Book of Restorative Justice. And the appendix is called 10 Ways to Live Restoratively. So I've discovered that uh, this whole project is a little redundant. But instead of wallowing in my own redundancy, I've decided, hey, let's just make a video where I go over these 10 ways to live restoratively and just talk about what I think about them. So that's this video. Great place to start for anyone looking to live restoratively. Thank you to Howard Zare for making my job nice and easy. Number 1 on Howard Zare's list of 10 ways to live restoratively is take relationships seriously, envisioning yourself in an interconnected web of people, institutions, and the environment. Relationships are at the center of everything we do, not just as restorative justice practitioners, but as human beings. Not only are relationships essential to our own mental health and communal well being, but every day we rely on other people for our daily lives to run smoothly. Even something as innocuous as driving to work. You're only in charge of your own vehicle, but you're relying on everyone else around you to not ruin your day. And they're relying on you to do the same. At a fundamental level, we are all interconnected. We're all in the same boat. It's interesting to include institutions as part of the web. I don't think that's something that comes up very often when we talk about the interconnectedness of people, but I think it's very valid. Institutions are the way the ideas of other people, otherwise disconnected from us through time and space, still impact us. And institutions are made up of people. For me, the most important part of taking relationships seriously is nurturing them. That means giving to them, giving them time, giving them energy. But that also means not being afraid to take a little of that time and that energy. I think it's easy for a lot of us, especially in circles like this, to think we need to sacrifice our own well being in order to support everyone else's. But I don't think that's good, and I don't think that's very restorative. If your relationship is just you giving and giving and giving, then it's not a very healthy relationship. I'm sorry. You need to let them give to you as well. And it's not even about being transactional. It's not an equivalent exchange necessarily. That's not 50-50 all the time. It's just reciprocal. You can't be afraid to lean on your loved ones and let them lean on you too. So, yes, at the end of the day, we're all on the same rock. We're all neighbors. The children of Earth are all your neighbors, and the Earth is your neighborhood. So, treat the world and the people around you accordingly. Number 2, try to be aware of the impact, potential as well as actual, of your actions on others and the environment. Yeah, you live in a place and around people. And sometimes that sucks, but whether it sucks or not, it is true. And the things you say and do impact the people around you, the animals around you, the environment around you. So it's important to consider, what impact do you want to have on the world? I'd guess most of us probably want to have a neutral to positive impact on the world. So thinking ahead to how your actions can create that impact is important. And at the same time, we're going to mess up sometimes. We're going to be a jerk every once in a while. The important thing is not that you're perfectly good all the time, it's that you're willing to take accountability when you do mess up. Reflecting on the impact you have on those around you and taking accountability when that impact is negative is an important part of having a more positive impact in the future. If things are going to get better, it's going to start with accountability. Number 3, when your actions negatively impact others, take responsibility by acknowledging and seeking to repair the harm, even when you could probably get away with avoiding or denying it. Started getting a bit of a rasp there. Yes, causing harm is inevitable. It's unavoidable. You will do it. I will do it. We all have done it. The way to deal with that restoratively is to own up to it and do what you can to make it right. I say that like it's so simple, but it can be really difficult because sometimes we really mess up, right? And in times like that, it can be so easy to slink away and act like we had nothing to do with it. We don't know anything about it. I know I've been there. But if living restoratively is something we strive for, we need to swallow our pride sometimes and just deal with it. It frequently sucks in the moment, but in the long run, it's a fast track to trust and stronger relationships in general, and healing, obviously. Number 4, treat everyone respectfully, even those you don't expect to encounter again, even those you feel don't deserve it, and even those who have harmed or offended you or others. This one is tough, especially in times like these. It's so easy to write someone off when they say something that we don't agree with, when they hurt us or someone we care about, or when they say or do some just downright despicable stuff. But I'm sorry to say, I think Howard is right. Those people deserve just as much respect as you or me. Let's make sure we're on the same page about what Howard and I mean by respect in this case. I've seen a post somewhere, and I think I already talked about it in another video, where somebody worded it very well. They said, sometimes people say respect to mean treat like a human being, and sometimes people say respect to mean treat like an authority. I love this quote. I think it's phenomenal because it gives us the language we need to talk about what respect means. So when I say, and I think when Howard says, to treat those people respectfully, I don't think he means, and I don't think I mean, to treat them like an authority. I mean to treat them like a human being. Anyway, number 5, involve those affected by a decision as much as possible in the decision-making process. I think a really good example of this is in parenting and any kind of childcare. Children in general rely on adults to make certain decisions about their safety and their lives. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't have some say, don't you think? If anything, I think it means their voices should have more weight in that decision making. When we are in the position to make decisions for other people, we have a responsibility to consider the impact it might have on them and their lives. So giving them the opportunity to voice that potential impact is not only more equitable, but probably going to make for easier decision making. Let me be clear, I'm not a parent. I'm not trying to tell you how to parent. And I understand that sometimes as a parent, you kind of just have to make a decision and you need to be the adult. My point is, be the adult responsibly and equitably. Number 6, view the conflicts and harms in your life as opportunities. Wow, I think I've already touched on this before in another video where I said something about accountability as being the opportunity to build trust and honesty as well. Conflicts or harms create for us an opportunity to be accountable or responsible, and an opportunity to be accountable or responsible gives us the opportunity to build trust in our relationships. Conflicts and harms are a big deal because they put a strain on our relationships, and it is absolutely within our best interest to keep our relationships unstrained. Repairing harm in our relationships can often make them stronger and make us closer to that other person than we were before. And that's because we built that trust by holding ourselves accountable and being responsible. It can be really easy to panic and retreat when our relationship is having some conflict, especially when we really care about the person. That's called avoiding, and it can be difficult for people wanting to live restoratively to deal with, but it's not impossible. I think the key really is that mindset shift from seeing conflict as a enormous problem, big and scary, to seeing conflict as an opportunity. When conflict is an opportunity, it isn't nearly as scary. Number 7, listen deeply and compassionately to others, seeking to understand even if you don't agree with them. Think about who you want to be in the latter situation rather than just being right. This one is also pretty tough at a practical level. Not only do you have to work on your active listening skills, but you need to use them on people who might infuriate you. I'll tell you this now, so you don't have to worry about it. You will never be perfect at this. Maybe you will if you're a bodhisattva, but barring that divine circumstance, I think we're all just going to have to learn to live with the fact that our minds are going to be a little more closed than we'd like them to be sometimes. Howard provides us with some advice on this one when he says, think about who you want to be rather than just being right. And I think that's fair advice. I'm someone who places a lot of emphasis on values and ideals and who I want to be. But I don't know if it's the most practical advice for everyone. Sometimes it seems like the other person is just so wrong in such a terribly harmful way that we can't help but lose a little piece of our minds. So here's my advice for situations like that. First of all, breathe. Breathe very deeply. Slow yourself down. You might even need to walk away for a bit. Remember, this person doesn't think they're wrong. They think they're right, and they think they are the good guy. You have to ask yourself, why do they think that? Listen to what they're saying and consider what core values are behind it. I think it's pretty rare that you're going to find someone whose core value is racism or homophobia, but I think you are more likely to find someone whose core values are things like tradition or community. And a lot of the time, I think you'll find that it's core values being twisted and perverted in such a way as to make them fit a racist or otherwise hateful story. Personally, I can't help but feel a little bit of compassion for people in situations like that, even if they do infuriate me. Number 8, engage in dialogue with others, even when what is being said is difficult, remaining open to learning from them and the encounter. Maybe it's just the way my brain works, but I feel like Howard was splitting these up a little bit when a lot of them could have been consolidated down just to make a longer list. To be fair, 10 is a much better number for a list than like 7. Regardless, I absolutely agree with this one. It's easy for me to say that people have basically positive values, but actually having those conversations with people is still pretty difficult. At the end of the day, though, I want to do it because I genuinely want to know where people are coming from. And part of that is because I want to change as many minds as possible, but it's also just about curiosity. Number 9, almost there. Be cautious about imposing your truths and views on other people and situations. Yikes. Didn't I just say I wanted to change as many minds as possible? I really didn't plan that, by the way. I was writing the script for this video as I was going through the list in the book, and that just happened. Anyway, yeah, this is a pretty big one. For those of us who consider ourselves righteous, which is basically everybody, the desire to be vindicated, proven right, can be very strong. This is something I'm absolutely guilty of, working on it. I find it helpful to remind myself there's no right way to live. I do kind of think there are some wrong ways, but there's no one right way. When I have an opinion to voice, that's all it is. It's my opinion. Instead of trying to change everybody's minds and show everyone how smart and woke I am, I find it a lot more helpful to share my opinion and ask for everyone else's. When I'm able to do that, I find that my perfect, unassailable viewpoint is limited, and typically we can come up with a more holistic solution to any problem with more than just my own opinion. Finally, number 10, sensitively confront everyday injustices, including sexism, racism, homophobia, and classism. I feel compelled to include even more things to that list, like transphobia or xenophobia, but I couldn't possibly cover everything, and I think you get the point anyway. I'll never forget this. A few years ago, one of my RJ mentors told me, the world needs more angry white men. And I laugh at that because I think the wording could have used some tweaking, but I agree with the sentiment. The sentiment being, nobody's voice doesn't count. I should say that differently. Everybody's voice matters, especially when we're talking about standing up to injustices. If you are a straight, white, cis man who sees the injustices of the world around you and you want to do your part in righting those wrongs, but you want to make room for other people's voices, yes, you should make room for other people's voices, but that doesn't mean you can't use yours. Silence is complicity, especially coming from people who look like us. At the end of the day, it is the responsibility of every justice minded human being, regardless of any of their other identities, to raise their voice. If you see injustice, don't wait for a black trans immigrant to say something. Say something. Somebody has to, and a lot of the time, straight white cis men are in the best position to be the first one to say something. Just to be clear, black trans immigrants are, of course, invited to use their voices as well, but I'm not one of you, so I'm not going to yell at you about it. Howard Zare does also make the point to be sensitive when addressing these injustices, and I think he's right. Most injustice doesn't look like innocent people being snatched off the street, although that does happen. Most injustice looks like an offhanded comment or somebody being excluded. In such situations, you don't need to be drawing your sword, but you need to be assertive and sensitive. Most of the time, that's all it takes. All right, we've reached the end of Appendix 4 of the Little Book of Restorative Justice 10 Ways to Live Restoratively as it appears in the Big Book of Restorative Justice. This was a lot of fun. I think Howard Zare did a good job of covering a lot of ground that was both practical and a little more heady in some places. And hopefully, I did a good job of filling in those gaps where they appeared. As with anything as complicated as a way of life, when you try to boil it down into a 10-step plan, some things tend to fall through the cracks. Luckily for me, that means I get to keep making videos. So thank you, Howard Zare, for your work. I'll take it from here. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.